So it's an exciting day here at Chasing Cars because we've got yet another long-term test car to introduce to our garage fleet. Today, it's the Kia Seltos GT Line all-wheel drive. And like always at Chasing Cars, I'm going to have this car for the next 6 months and I'm going to attempt to put around 10,000 kilometres on the odometer to work out what it's really like to live with and hopefully answer some of the questions that you might put to me. But before that, let's look at what's new on the Seltos, because late last year it received a kind of a mild facelift, and let's be real, it doesn't look too different from the last model, but there are a few cool changes on the inside and the outside, and also underneath in the powertrain. So let's take a look. Chasing Cars, honest reviews of your next car. Brought to you by Budget Direct. So under the bonnet of the Seltos GT line, it's a rather familiar affair because it still gets a turbocharged 1.6 litre petrol engine, just like the last Seltos GT line, but this time it's been revised and it now produces 146 kilowatts and 265 newton meters of torque. So while that's still rather similar, behind it there's a different story, because you might remember the last Seltos GT line used a dual clutch transmission, whereas this time you've got an 8-speed torque converter automatic back here. So as well as being a different unit entirely, it'll be interesting to see how it performs on the road and if it's any smoother or if it's less athletic than that last transmission. When it comes to the look of this updated Seltos, the mild part of the mild facelift name is quite mild really, because I mean look, it's largely the same. There's some fancy new light design across the headlights and these cool little inserts that come across the grille, but I mean other than that and the new Kia badge on the front, things are basically the same. Around the back here, it's a similar story, with redesigned taillights being the main difference. You've also got Kia's fancy new badge here, but you'll notice down here, like the last iteration of the Seltos, it's got that standard reflector, which, I mean, Kia doesn't have much of a heritage in motorsport, but hey, this might be a nod to future race cars. If I'm honest, the interior of this new Seltos is nothing short of impressive. I mean, the main draw card here are these two large 10.25-inch displays you've got in front of you, one handling infotainment and the other the digital gauge cluster. You've also got a 4-inch heads-up display up there, and while it isn't one of these cool ones that projects onto the windscreen, it still works fantastically. One issue I've already encountered though with this system is the fact that both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are only wired in this grade. Lower spec models with the smaller screens get wireless phone connectivity, but it kind of feels a little silly when you've got the fancy screens, yet you're still having to plug your phone in to get it to work. Another slight irk that I've already found with this car, considering that it's the range-topping GT Line all-wheel drive that starts at about $47,000 drive away, is the fact that you've got so many hard-touch materials around here on the dash. It just doesn't scream premium and certainly doesn't scream the almost $50,000 drive away price. Some nice features that the Seltos GT Line does get though include a wireless phone charger, leather heated and cooled seats, and the fantastic Bose audio system that gets the cool lights that kind of go along with the music. Something that you do kind of expect from a tacky Bluetooth speaker, but hey, when you're driving along at night and things are dark, I don't know, it kind of makes you happy. Another interesting addition to the Seltos for the 2023 update include these air vents back here in the second row, which is something that the first iteration didn't get. And although I don't plan on spending a lot of time back here in the second row, it's good to know that my passengers back here shouldn't die of heat exhaustion. So, with the revised engine and a new transmission, I've got high hopes with the Seltos, and to be honest, my first impressions are good. Though 146 kilowatts isn't a lot of power by modern standards, it feels sufficient in this car. I mean, it's zippy, it's sprightly, and I gotta say, it's fun to drive. Torque is there. I mean, there's not a heap of it, but hey, this is a small SUV that's, I guess, meant for grocery shopping and traveling between cities, so I mean, you're not expecting a race car, and I like it. As for the transmission, to be honest, I haven't really spent too much time driving this car yet, so I haven't really formed an opinion on it, but straight off the bat, I appreciate how you don't have that low-speed clunkiness that dual clutches often get, and it's fast, the shifts are fun. Even though this is a GT Line car, I mean, what does that badge really mean anyway? It doesn't get shifter paddles, which is a slight disappointment, so you're not going to be rolling your own gears if you're in the twisties. You do have a sport mode with, I guess, options to slam between gears using the shifter down here, but I don't know, I doubt I'm going to be going on too spirited of a drive in a Seltos, so it's probably not really necessary. As for the ride, I'm impressed so far, and it feels nice. I mean, it's not at the level of, I guess, high-end European small SUVs with beautiful rides, but hey, I mean, it's not the most expensive thing on the road and it feels comfortable, so I'm happy with it. There is a drive mode selected down here and it gives you access to Eco, Normal and Sport. Again, I'm yet to really find out what each mode does and dig into it, but so far I've noticed it changes the dash in the style that like a Hyundai i20N does. Unfortunately there's no like cool flames, but there is a little animation, and when you flick to Sport it does go red, so I like it. Though this is the range stopping all-wheel drive model, I can't really say that I have been in any situation that needs it. Other than that, I noticed there is a center diff locking button down here by the gear selector, which to be honest I don't expect to be going too far off the beaten track, and fingers crossed I won't actually need to use that, but I guess it's good to know that you can lock the center diff like a Subaru 22B if you want to. As for performance, we're yet to test it, and it's really anyone's guess because Kia doesn't actually give a claim for this car. All I am hoping for though is that it's faster than Zach's old Picanto Long Turbo, which I think was like 9.5, so anything better than that, man, I'll be happy. One thing that I have noticed that, I mean, I don't know, I feel apathetic about it right now, but I feel like it might become an issue in the future, is this speed limit assist thing that I discovered on the launch of this car late last year. Every time you go over the speed limit, it kind of aggressively beeps at you, which I mean, no one really wants. And every time you turn the car off, the system turns itself on again. So it's going to be interesting to see what that's like to live with, if I get used to it, or if at the end of 6 months, I still really don't like it. I don't know. To be honest, I'm kind of leaning towards the latter, but I'm going into it with an open mind, so who knows. So there you have it. That's what's new on the Kia Seltos GT Line all-wheel drive for 2023. And as my first ever long-term test car, I have to say I'm rather excited to get to know this car and work out all its quirks, whether they be good or bad. But anyway, if you have any questions, make sure to drop them in the comments down below, and while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching Chasing Cars.